Okay, I'm Eric Williams, by the way.
Hi, Eric. I'm
Pleasure.
Jan McFarland.
Jan McFarland. Where you from?
Just down the road, Stanger Springs community.
So this your first time here?
Yes, it is.
So what do you think?
Oh, it was great that he opened up his house to us, told us the history. I've been by this house so many times going back and forth from Tyler and always thought it was just a beautiful place, and I'm glad I got to see it and hear some of the history.
So you've been here all this time and never been by?
That's right.
So why today?
Well, because I just saw that it was opened up for Christmas, so I never know for sure when it's open and you could tour it, so I just saw that and I thought I'm coming on down.
So was it your interest in the colonial era?
Oh, history, the colonial, the architect, the antiques, the everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
And so how did you find the house to be?
Oh, it's beautiful. It was great. Yeah, and decorated for Christmas. So if you're a Christmas bug, this is the place to be, because I really enjoyed seeing the Christmas tint to it.
Well, one of the things that we're doing, and I'm here filming in search of my great-great-grandmother, Miriam.
Okay.
And we've been visiting plantations all over Marshall. And we've been interviewing people about that time period of slavery. And just getting because a lot of times African-American people, they're not even aware that some of these plantations still exist.
Right.
And still standing. So part of what we did today was wanted to give a tour so people can have a sense of what it's like in one of these homes from back in the day. So they've been able to provide a lot of leads. And we've actually found my great-grandmother in another plantation buried at Mimosa Hall in Marshall. You might want to I don't know if you've been to that one before.
No, I haven't.
That's a huge one over in Marshall. And but I've done a lot of research on Rosedale Plantation. I don't know how much you know about the Rosedale Plantation and its history, but what is your take on what occurred here on this property with that era during slavery?
Right. What I did hear about it was that the land was given to the slaves after the Emancipation Proclamation, and that the owner had deeded the land. That's really about all I know about the history of this particular plantation.
Now, one of the things that it sounds like this particular slave owner was a little bit more caring about his slaves.
It sounds like it.
And he wasn't as brutal as some of the others. And he left property for some of the slaves in terms of reparations for what had occurred to them under his leadership.
Right.
How do you feel about reparations today for African Americans who didn't receive the type of treatment like the ones did here, receiving land and some financial assistance, but some of the slaves on other plantations got nothing but booted off the land? How do you feel about ancestors receiving reparations today?
I just don't know how we can go that far back in history and correct things. I mean, I just don't know about that. I don't know how that would be feasible, how that would work. From sharecroppers on down, there's just been hardships, and that's what life is. I just I don't want to make light of it, but I also don't know how we can go back in history to fix what's been done.
Good point. Now, one of the things that I discovered in my research, you may already be aware, but I'm not aware, but shortly after the Civil War, and the plantation owners were told that they had to release the slaves. And one of the things that they were fearful of is losing money because the slaves were property. So they wanted compensation for getting rid of the slaves. So they were paid reparations by the U.S. government. The slave owners. Back then in the 1800s, they were given money to free the slaves and relinquish the property. Do you think that was something that should have been done or should not have been done?
Again, I can't go back 100 years to say what's right, because 100 years from now, we may all be demonized for eating cows. I just can't go back and say what was right or wrong. We learn from history, studying of history, and it's just hard to go back and say, was that right, was that wrong? In our standards now, yeah, it's wrong. 100 years ago, 100 years from now, it's just hard to do that.
Slavery in itself was a crime against humanity, would you say?
I would say so, but as in the slaves, it's always taken place, whether it was in the Bible, whenever Moses and all, it's been there, and it's
And pray to God we never have to go through that again.
absolutely.
And come to find out in this research, Marshall was King Cotton, and it was the largest area of slave owners and slave holders in America at the time. Marshall was one of the wealthiest cities in the state of Texas, and they had more slave owners and slaves. They actually outnumbered the white settlers at that time
Oh,
by 52% in this area, in Harrison County, rather. And but I'm glad to have your perspective. Is there anything you would like to say in closing that I didn't ask, or you just like to mention?
no, not at all. I'm not sure what we're doing. Are you just recording for?
Well, this is for my documentary film that I'm doing on my Finding Miriam grandmother here in Marshall, Texas,
Oh, okay.
and on that particular era. So I'll be using some of your quotes as a part of the film, just getting perspective from everybody, both black, white, Asian, Mexican, everything, because that's one of the things that I think we should have is conversation.
I agree.
And not arguments about the past. That's the only way we can correct it for the future, is that we got to talk about it.
Yep.
And that's why I'm glad you were able to share with me your thoughts, so that you can share those thoughts with other people, so that we don't do this ever again in the future.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you for your permission. I really appreciate it, allowing me to talk to you. And once again, your name was?
Jan
McFarland.
McFarland. And again, I would appreciate that, because I don't know you, you don't
Yes,
know me.
absolutely.
You could take this and slice it and spice it and make it say things that did not come from my heart. So
Yeah.
I just hope that God is guiding you in
Oh,
this,
absolutely.
in the truth that you're seeking, and that,
Thank you.
like you said, we can have conversations and
Thank you.
and have a good future.
Thank you. Well, I really appreciate